The Syracuse police chief says there'll be training and discipline for at least one of the officers caught on camera using force during an arrest this week. Good evening, I'm Matt Mulcahy.
And I'm Megan Coleman, but the chief is stopping short of saying what these officers may have done wrong and what that discipline could look like. The I-Team's Connor White is pushing for answers tonight. He is live in Syracuse. Connor?
Megan, Matt, it's been about 48 hours since that arrest, and the cell phone video went viral, being shared thousands of times on social media. In the chief's statement, he does note that there was some kind of policy violation, but as you mentioned, is stopping short of saying exactly what one or more of his officers might have done wrong. It's why policing experts are speculating now, believing that that violation likely came before the events that were captured on that cell phone video. These are the moments sparking outrage on Syracuse's southwest side. Syracuse police officers take two men in their early 20s to the ground. At one point, an officer places his knee on Jamar Chandler's head before striking him multiple times.
I don't never know out here now. Now I'm gonna be scared to talk to the next police. I don't never know what they're gonna do to me.
A day later, the Syracuse police chief releases a statement providing a timeline of events. He explains officers first pulled these two over on South Ave for traffic violations, claiming they then were disrespectful and threatening towards officers. The video, captured by a bystander, picks up at the point that the two men were free to go. Police state Chandler spat in their direction, so an officer takes Chandler down, followed by Antal Tatum. During the scuffle, Chandler says he did not spit at an officer.
I spit on the floor! Takedowns are pretty.
John Jay College of Criminal Justice expert David Sarney says the actual use of force was by the book in his opinion. It's why he believes Chief Cecil is referring to actions not captured here when the chief says there are policy violations caught on body camera.
This is the benefit of body cameras. You have one one story, you have a video that takes place, doesn't have any context pre or post.
Should police officers not exercise more restraint given their training, even if they are facing disrespect or something like someone spitting in their direction?
There's no reason not to always act professionally. Officers are human beings and they do make mistakes. And that's
Retired State Police Commander Francis Coote says it's significant that Chief Cecil is pointing to some kind of error that needs correction.
I would say that was probably a statement of frustration with his officers when they did something he knows they're not supposed to do.
Neighbors and community activists say they are not expecting true accountability to come from within Syracuse police.
Something has to change. We can't have aggression and then you expect us to abide by you know, and be able to get along with the officers. We're going to match aggression with aggression, and that's what's happening to these young boys.
Syracuse police say they are still not finished with their own investigation with their own officers, so the police chief is continuing to make the decision not to take questions in front of a camera, though a spokesperson says that will be an option for the chief moving forward. But for the time being, Matt and Megan, still no information on what policies might have been violated, how many officers did so, and what discipline actually looks like. Reporting in Syracuse, I'm Connor White.
Connor, it'd also be interesting to see the full body camera video to have a better sense of when did this start, when did it end, and not just see just a small snippet caught by that one camera. Thank you. The New York Civil Liberties Union says it's extremely disturbed by the video. The agency says this reflects a culture of discriminatory policing in Syracuse. It also highlights the harms of pretextual traffic stops, which are disproportionately used to target black and brown men and rely on racist stereotypes about criminality. That coming from the New York Civil Liberties Union tonight.
An eyewitness account to the shooting on I-95 involving an off-duty Jacksonville Sheriff's Office lieutenant is shedding new light into the incident that snarled traffic for hours back on March 10th.
It happened just north of Emerson Street. That witness tells News4Jax the off-duty lieutenant fired his gun at a semi-truck driver who was in the cab of his truck. Tarek Miners here with why this witness account, Tarek, may be very significant in an ongoing criminal investigation.
Yeah, there were a lot of unanswered questions in March. Was there some kind of physical confrontation that led up to the officer opening fire on I-95 at rush hour? Now, the witness tells me the off-duty Lieutenant Mark Crawford, who's also a sharpshooter, fired 4 bullets which hit the truck's engine. This witness says, in his opinion, the former officer overreacted after the two vehicles bumped each other on the highway.
We heard the gunshots, and my wife goes, "Is that gunshots?" I go, "It's got to be a motorcycle backing up or backfiring." And then the traffic to the left of us all stopped.
Startled by the gunfire, this eyewitness tells News4Jax that ex-off-duty Lieutenant Mark Crawford fired his weapon 4 times at the driver of an 18-wheeler while the 70-year-old truck driver was still inside the vehicle.
And I'm going, why were you shooting at all was the part that got to me. All you had to do was pull in front of him with your lights on and the guy would have stopped. He wasn't going fast anyway, but it just seemed to me it was overreacting.
The witness says after the gunfire, Crawford readjusted the position of his unmarked vehicle and activated small police lights before approaching the driver while shouting unknown commands.
He's got the gun above his head. He's got his gun above his head, and he's aiming at the truck. Mm-hmm. Then he jumps back into the car, pulls forward, and it hits at a 45 the opposite way. So he's just ahead of the truck, jumps back out, and that's when the truck comes to a stop, and we're all stopped, and I can watch all this point. The guy gets out of the truck, gets down on the ground.
According to this newly released crash report, investigators found Crawford at fault for the accident, releasing this diagram of the 2 positions Crawford's vehicle was in during the traffic accident with the flatbed. As a law enforcement officer, Crawford has the right against incrimination under the 5th Amendment, so he didn't immediately have to give a statement to his employer, JSO.
It's interesting to see as these details come out that they're coming out not from the sheriff's office or not from the involved officer there, but they're coming out from witnesses that are there. And we talked initially when this whole thing started was that this is the kind of thing that takes these investigations so long, because if that officer is not cooperating and not providing information, investigators are going to have to do just what's been done today. Find the witnesses, talk to witnesses, look for information.
News4Jax crime and safety analyst Tom Hackney, who worked for JSO for more than 20 years, acknowledges the difficulty in finding a reasonable explanation for the officer's decision to use deadly force.
You know, when you look at the whole circumstances surrounding this, the crash that was there, somehow these 2 vehicles collided, and maybe that's the precursor to whatever happened there. And from what the witness today has told News4Jax, and you start seeing these things start to come together, it starts to paint a picture. Again, even without the input from that officer, the picture starts to be painted about potentially some responsibility on the side of this officer.
According to JSO's transparency page, the 70-year-old truck driver did sustain a non-penetrating gunshot wound. Now, the state attorney's office currently has the case as it is a criminal investigation. Lieutenant Crawford is currently assigned to the teleserve unit. He has been stripped of his police authority, and he is not in a supervisory role. Joy?
Welcome back to the Bad Apple Report. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. We have some really big stories to get to on today's show, but we're going to start out in Colorado with this story, and there's not a bigger story than this one. A judge in Colorado sentenced Andrew Buin, the former Clear Creek County deputy, found guilty in the shooting death of 22-year-old Christian Glass. On Monday, the judge sentenced Buin to 3 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections with a mandatory parole of 2 years after the sentence has been served. In addition to the 3 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections for the criminally negligent homicide conviction, the judge sentenced him to 120 days in jail for reckless endangerment to be served concurrently with the DOC sentence. Okay. Buin has credit for 54 days served. Okay. Glass's father, Simon, spoke in court during the sentencing hearing. Quote, "Talking about Christian in the past tense seems completely alien to me, like someone else is speaking," said Simon Glass. Glass went on to accuse the Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office of trying to cover up the truth by claiming that, quote, Christian had committed suicide by cop and attacked officers with knives, which was a cruel lie. Simon Glass went on to describe his son as, quote, a gentle, kind, and polite boy who never hurt anyone in his life. Simon Glass explained that without the body cam, I believe the truth would have remained hidden. We would have gone to our graves believing that Christian had inexplicably attacked the police. Buin was facing a second-degree murder charge for his involvement in Glass's 2022 death, but the jury convicted him on a lesser charge of criminally negligent homicide in February. Buin's first trial ended in a partially hung jury. Glass was in the Clear Creek County when his car, he called 911 for help when his vehicle got stuck on a dirt road. His family said He was having a mental health crisis when law enforcement officers from several different departments responded after the 22-year-old refused to leave his vehicle. Okay, we all saw the video. In the early morning hours of June 11th, 2022, after several hours with Glass not cooperating with commands, Buin was the one who ended up firing the shots that killed Glass. Officers had broken a window in an attempt to get him out of his vehicle, and Glass grabbed a knife he had inside. Deputies then tased him, and they started swinging the knife. He started swinging the knife before he was shot and killed. Okay. Buin was fired from the Clear Creek Sheriff's Office. The Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office. Sorry, guys. Okay, Buin was emotional in court on Monday and wiped away tears several times as he read a statement, quote, "Christian deserved better." Yeah. Quote, "I wish I could take it all back," said Buin in court before he was sentenced. Prior to the hearing, Buin told CBS News Colorado, "My actions resulted in the outcome of someone losing their life. That's something I live with every day. One thing I do take comfort in is that Christian's name now has finally been cleared," said Simon Glass. Okay. "Christian was our first and only son, our only grandson in our family," said Simon Glass. "I have so many memories now infused with pain. It's only recently that I can even look at a photo of him. I miss him." And that's the story. Buin has been sentenced to 3 years. Thank you so much for being here, folks. Let's move on with the show.
A former Columbus police officer is asking for a retrial after being convicted of murder. Back in November, Adam Coy was found guilty of shooting and killing Andre Hill in 2020. And now we are learning no decision will be made just yet. 10 TV's Lacey Crisp has been following this case since the start and joins us from outside the courtroom. Lacey.
Adam Coy was the first law enforcement officer in Franklin County to be found guilty of an on-duty death. His defense attorneys argue that prosecutors never told them about a potential expert witness that they reached out to. Now, the defense says that that expert told prosecutors that he believed the shooting was justified. The defense says there's a Brady violation. That means the prosecutors have to give them all the evidence and tell them about all potential witnesses, and that did not happen in this case. Defense argues that information would have changed the way they argued the case and potentially changed the outcome of the case, which is why they're asking for the judge for a new trial. Now, as you said, the judge did not make a ruling today. We anticipate he'll put that ruling in writing within the next 30 days. Reporting live, Lacey Crisp, 10 TV News.
Wayne County deputy with a checkered past is off the job tonight, months after the 7 investigators first raised questions about his hiring.
Back in September, 7 investigator Ross Jones revealed Jamonte Horton's laundry list of controversies over 3 different police agencies. They were enough to cost him his law enforcement license, but not a badge with Wayne County.
Now that badge has been taken away. 7 investigator Ross Jones tells us why.
Doing a great job for the agency, no issues, and we move on.
This was Sheriff Raphael Washington defending the hiring of Deputy Jamonte Horton back in September.
I think he had a stellar record, from what I'm told.
But now the sheriff has fired Horton after an on-duty fistfight that happened just this month. Sources say it all started when Horton got into a verbal argument with an inmate, triggering another deputy to intervene. The two got physical, and fists were thrown, all in full view of jail inmates. The sheriff deciding Thursday to fire Horton, saying in a statement he'd already been given a second chance.
Why did you turn the camera off?
In truth, this marked at least Horton's 4th chance in law enforcement. He'd resigned or been fired by 3 different departments. In Ypsilanti, he was written up for missing shifts, sleeping in his patrol vehicle, and showing a homemade pornographic video at work. In Highland Park, Horton was found to have done a U-turn across 2 lanes of traffic, striking another vehicle, and failing to check on the driver he just hit. At a crime scene, he was seen handing his AR-15 rifle to a strip club security guard so he could handcuff a suspect. And he was investigated after allegedly turning off his body camera during a police pursuit that he was told not to engage in the first place. Then, according to officials, providing false statements when questioned. Horton claimed the camera malfunctioned, and said he wasn't involved in the chase.
Deputy Horton should have never been hired in the first place with his checkered past.
Reggie Crawford is a retired Wayne County Sheriff's deputy and the former president of the Deputies Union.
Officers who have checkered past, these wandering cops, they just shouldn't be police officers. They shouldn't be deputies.
In an email, Jamonte Horton declined to comment on his firing, only saying that he's no longer affiliated with the Wayne County Sheriff's Office or law enforcement. We're in the newsroom. I'm Ross Jones, 7 News Detroit.
Still we banging through the headlines like we got to do. We've found ourselves here in Chester County, Tennessee, where we've got a Chester County deputy arrested on charges of domestic assault, the police say. Whoa. On March 9th, investigators with CCSO began investigating allegations of assault involving Chester County Deputy Eric Soul Patch Talbot. All right. Nice soul patch there, Eric. On Friday, April 11th, Talbot was arrested and charged with domestic assault, false imprisonment, and vandalism. He was booked into the Chester County Jail and released on $2,500 bond. Soul Patch Eric Talbot resigned from Chester County Sheriff's Office on Friday, April 11th. Aw. Well, that's the story on that goofball. Let's move on with the show.
Jury selection is underway downtown Charleston for a former Charleston County Sheriff's deputy accused of killing a woman and her 2 adult daughters in a crash. Emily Pelletier faces 3 counts of reckless homicide. That accident happened in May of 2022, and investigators say Pelletier was speeding to a call without her lights or siren on. 53-year-old Stephanie Dantzler and her daughters, 28-year-old Shanice Dantzler Williams and 22-year-old Miranda Dantzler Williams, were killed. A South Carolina Highway Patrol report stated Pelletier was traveling at 73 miles per hour when she ran a stop sign and hit that vehicle. The family of the victim shared with Live 5 that they are not at the jury selection part, but will be present for the trial, which starts tomorrow.
You guys remember these 2 bad apples, right? One shot the other because the other was getting a little frisky. And it says here a jury trial has been postponed for the 3rd time, you guys, in the case of a former James City County police officer accused of shooting his superior officer more than 2 years ago. The 4-day trial was expected to go forward this week in Williamsburg, James City County Circuit Court against Michael Trenton Rusk. Okay, but Rusk is age 27. He's charged with aggravated malicious wounding and a gun charge in the shooting of Sergeant Christopher Gibson in the early morning hours of January 25th, 2023. But the trial has been delayed until December due to a number of issues. Rusk's attorney, William Peyton Akers, wrote in an email. Okay, Akers could not be reached Monday for elaboration. Come on. Commonwealth attorney Nate Green said his office recused itself from the prosecution early on because of potential conflicts of interest. Ooh, that seems weird. Wonder what Nate Green has to do with these guys. It's such a conflict, if you know what I mean. Anyways, the case is now assigned to an outside prosecutor who couldn't immediately be reached Monday. Good grief. This is the 4th time the trial date has been set, with Rusk's trial previously scheduled for January 2024, September 2024, and then this week. Security camera footage of the night in question shows Rusk and Gibson drinking together at a table in the Brick House Tavern, a pub on Scotland Street, before eventually moving outside, where they began arguing in a parking lot. Both officers were off duty at the time. Thank goodness. Rusk contends Gibson, now age 41, was coming on to him that night, and that he shot the sergeant and fending off unwanted advances. I mean, that's how you do it. During a 911 call reporting the shooting, Rusk tells the dispatcher, quote, "I told him to stop, but he kept going." And that he, quote, "thought he was going to rape me." I wonder if he screamed it when he said that, too. Anyways, aggravated malicious wounding is a Class 2 felony punishable by 20 years and life in prison. Whoa. Well, the gun charge carries another 3 years. Okay. In November, the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice revoked Rusk's certification to serve as a law enforcement officer. Rusk is challenging that decertification with a hearing set for May. Wow. So he's going to get a hearing on that even before his trial. Dang. Okay. Separately, Rusk is suing James City County and its police department in federal court, asserting he was subjected to numerous sexual advances from Gibson over many months. Okay, Rusk he's asking for more than $5.5 million in damages, contends the James City County Police Department discriminated against him on the basis of sex by allowing that behavior to continue. Whoa, it's getting spicy. All right, quote, the defendant's conduct has completely ruined Mr. Lusk's life and blah, blah, blah. We don't care about all that. There's still more to it, but the fact is, getting spicy. That's the story on those goofballs. And now let's move on with the show.
The 15. It's busy, it's fast, it can be incredibly dangerous. For Mark Wright, it's how he gets to work. It's how he gets home to his high school sweetheart wife, his kids, his grandkids.
Every single day I commute, I ride through that same stretch of interstate where I crashed. And I kind of say a little quick prayer to myself, and, thank God for keeping me alive.
March 13th, 2022. A car smashed into Mark's motorcycle. A 26-year military career may have saved his life.
I was a aerial observer, a crew chief in the Marine Corps for many years, and they taught me how to crash, luckily. From the moment I woke up in the trauma room and I saw my foot, I knew it was done.
Mark's left foot was done. Mark was not.
There's only two things in life you control, your attitude and your behavior.
You see, after Mark left the Marines and his 3 wartime deployments, he joined the San Diego Police Department in 2020. He was riding his motorcycle home in 2022 when his career took another turn.
I knew I could get through it.
Mark is a walking notebook of inspirational quotes.
That was the other thing I learned from the crash is no days are guaranteed.
Just 9 months after losing his leg, Mark returned to active duty.
Oh, look at a superstar.
He credits his wife and family.
I've had that support network for a long time and it's helped.
Helped him get to this, graduation from the police motorcycle training course. Mark Wright is the first motorcycle cop in the nation with a prosthetic leg.
Incredible. Motivational.
His lieutenant says Mark did it without modifying the 800-pound bike or asking for special treatment.
To have somebody come in as an amputee and to do that is nothing short of phenomenal.
You tell yourself you can't do something, you've already defeated yourself.
So the Marine turned cop, full-time grandpa without a leg, still takes the 15 to and from work, just now as San Diego's newest motorcycle officer. It may be what he was supposed to do.
I think I was at heart.
Joe Little, NBC7.
It seems like just yesterday. It was. Just like tomorrow. A batch of bad apples just for you. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting up with me. You're incredibly cool, and I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. bright and early.